Okay, so we're going to do a new part. This is going to be a simple part. Just watch. Yep. And we're going to capture this so you can do this at a later date. Okay? So obviously if we had a complicated model we were interested in testing, this would be a little bit more complicated. But for an introduction, I'm going to make a simple iron bar. Okay? On the right plane. I'm going to make a rectangle in the origin like we've been focusing on. We're in inches. So I'm going to make this a 1/2 inch thick bar. It's going to be 1 inch wide. We're going to make it 8 inches long. Okay, so it's not a steel bar yet. As you can see over here, material not specified. We're going to specify the material during the wizard. The wizard will walk you through asking you questions that are important for you to successfully get through this process. So the first thing we need to do though is you're going to go to Tools. Make sure you do this when you get to the video. You're going to go to Addins. I know this because I experienced an error earlier. When the add-ins load, you are going to see, for the sake of the video, I'm going to print screen this so you can see. You are going to see Solidworks Simulation, and there's going to be check marks in those boxes. What I would like you to do, actually I can't. What I'd like you to do is make sure you uncheck these two, okay? Make sure that Solidworks Simulation is unchecked for active add-ins and startup. Why? Because if they're checked, it doesn't work. That's all you need to worry about, okay? So say okay. And if they're not in add-ins any longer, you're just going to go over to evaluate. We're trying to evaluate what we have here. So I'm going to click on Simulation Express Wizard. And on the right-hand side, it's going to ask a series of questions. There's online training if you need to know more about what I'm showing you. But we're going to click Next. And it's going to ask, first of all, how is this object fixed? Like, it's got to be fixed to something physical in space so that we can apply a pressure or a force to it. So where is it going to be glued to? I'm going to add a fixture. And I'm going to say, you know what? I want it glued to the wall right here. So I clicked it. That's the fixed geometry. You can see how it's going to be attached. We're going to see that it's loaded here. And then I'm just going to say, okay. Simple fixture of just one side. If this were going in a 90-degree corner of a building, and I'm just making this like a shelf, and I wanted to see what would happen if both edges were fixed, I could do so. But at this point, we're going to leave it as that is done. We added a fixture. We're going to click Next. Now it's like add a force or add a pressure. All right, I'm not trying to simulate something under atmospheric pressure or water pressure or anything specific to that. I'm just going to put a little force on it. All right, so on the left, it's like where does the force get applied? I'm going to click here. If you want a reverse direction in the future, you can do so by just checking this box, and now the force will pull it instead of push it down. So we're going to push it down. We have the face selected. That's going to have the energy applied to. We're going to make sure that our unit, we're going to stay in the metric system, and we're going to stay in newtons. And let's just do 30, okay? When you're doing this, pick 30, okay? And then we can reanalyze with different settings moving forward. So we're going to do 30 newtons, okay, on that face while it's fixed to here. And then we're going to say, okay, green check. Then you're going to click Next. Now you choose material. Remember I told you it wasn't a steel bar? This is where it turns into a steel bar. So you click Choose Material. The Material Wizard pops up. And just to make it simple at the moment, alloy steel. So you're going to hit Apply and Close. On the left, you'll notice it says alloy steel. Okay. And over here, alloy steel has been selected. You're going to click Next. And then you're going to hit Run Simulation. Watch what it does. It takes some time. It's doing a lot of math. Obviously, if this were a complicated simulation, it would obviously take more time. There's the deflection, and that's the animation. So at this point, I'm going to stop the animation because I don't necessarily need to see it keep doing that, right? And I'm going to, it says, does the part deform as you expected, or did it do something completely wrong because you clicked the wrong thing? This gives you an option to go back. So we're going to say yes, continue. And now the question is, this is where you started class in the beginning of the day with me, okay? You were looking at something similar. I can say show factors of safety. Currently, this isn't breaking. So the factor of safety isn't being compromised in any way. But if I show displacement, you can actually see that it moved from its current position down to here. And then based on the color, you can actually see a actual unit of measurement and how much it's displaced by color, right? Same thing, von Mises stresses. You can take a look at that. So this can show you some internal stresses of the material as well, okay? And basically the material is what they're called yielding. It's moving to the forces that are being applied to it. So there's this thing called yield strength you're concerned with before the object starts to bend. What's its limit, right? So once it starts to bend, right before that would be basically its yield strength, right before it starts to yield to something else. So at this point, we would just, you can play the animation, you can watch what it happens. It kind of happens a little bit fast. There's got to be a way to slow this down, but at this point, I'm not going to waste any more time with this. We're going to click Done Viewing Results. Let's do Generate Report. Now you can look really fancy. Obviously, you can put in the designer, the company, the logo, the address, and all this stuff. I'm just going to generate at the moment. It's going to put it somewhere, so this is probably a spot where you'd want to pick a location, like your desktop. And I'm just going to call it Steel Bar FEA Report. Finite Element Analysis, FEA Report. I'm going to select the desktop folder. And I'm going to call it here the Steel Bar FEA Report. And it's going to put my report at that location, and then we can look at the report too. I haven't seen the report in a while, so I'm curious to see what they're going to add to this. And then we're done. And we can watch the fun activity we have planned. Yeah. One more minute. It's writing the report. Pretty sure. So this is obviously happening in real time, so if you're watching the video right now, you could definitely skip ahead until this black screen becomes visible. So you can see stuff going on behind the scenes of the report being generated. So we're just waiting and waiting. Here we go. So let's take a look at the report products in a second. So take a look. We have a table of contents. It wrote 7 pages for you with one click of a button. Okay? Here's your model information. Here's your boss extrude. It's a solid body, right? It's got mass, volume, density, and weight. It's pretty amazing. So people who take physics, pay attention. You'll knock the socks off your physics teacher. And this didn't take any time at all. Here's your meshing. Here's where it's being fixed. Here's where the force is being applied, 30 newtons. Then here's your displacement and your stress analysis, and it's done. So you print this out and turn this in. This is pretty impressive, and we barely did anything, right? So obviously, if this were something important, we'd print this out and bring it to a meeting, and we'd talk about it and so forth, okay? So at this point, this process has been recorded and demonstrated, and we can do this at a later date.